I bet a lot of people have heard about attic insulation and attic ventilation and maybe don't understand the difference between those two things, which are very distinct things. I've asked Adam Greer from the Wise Attic to clear this up for all of us here on Check a Pro Radio. Adam, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am living the dream. You know that I love the attic space. I've spent a lot of time in the attic space, not literally in the attic, but talking about this on the radio, on podcasts. Um, I actually think I understand how this stuff works. So let me take a shot. The insulation is usually some fluffy stuff. It comes in different types of materials. You get the pink stuff, some white stuff. Some of it is a bat insulation, which is kind of the stuff you roll out. There's the blow-in stuff, kind of looks like snow, and there's foam and so forth. So that's the insulation. And then ventilation is actually what it sounds like. It's like when you're cooking something on the stove, you turn the overhead vent on and it's ventilating. It pulls up, any steam or smoke. The same thing should be happening in an attic in terms of airflow. Did I get that right?
That's pretty dang close. The real quick, just on the color thing, it's just it's just the company brand. It's not that
Mm.
it's different than white. All of it's doing its job. So it's really just preference of the company, what they produce, manufacturers.
Sure. So let's drive down deep a little more. The differences between ventilation and attic insulation. First off, they're both important, correct?
Critical.
Mm.
And I would say ventilation has become the number one defense over insulation.
Mm.
It's just the technology has caught up. For example, real quick, Origin, which we talked about that before, most common ventilation up there. Well, for it to work scientifically or mathematically, however you want to look at this, its design is to act like a chimney does on a home. So that's why chimneys are above your roof line. They have to be high enough to catch the draft to pull the air out of the smoke out of your home. Not high enough, the smoke comes into your home. Well, same thing with Origin. They're supposed to be 8 feet from the floor to the ridge for it to create that chimney effect. Most attics in Houston are not 8 feet from floor to ceiling to
Mm.
the roof line. And so all you're depending upon now at that point is just natural thermal airflow, just hot air rising and escaping. It's not actually being drawn out. So that just right off the bat, the most common ventilation in attics in Houston isn't even effective. So we want to get to some better options, and certainly mechanical is going to be your best option. You want to pull that air out and move as much air through the attic as you can per hour.
I've got a 30-watt solar attic fan, the same fan that you install in people's homes, and what's nice about it is it works day after day, month after month, year
Yeah,
after year. You don't have to plug it in. It's got a lifetime warranty, and it's doing its job, more than a static, vent. It's
yeah,
actually saying, "You know what? Let's work on this." It's like a straw. A straw doesn't bring that liquid up. You actually have to do some work, right? Well, the fan does work, but it it just does it by itself. There's no maintenance. It's not like a water softener or an air conditioning system or a heating system. Those all need maintenance and they use a lot of electricity. This
right.
uses the energy from the sun, which I love, and it knows when to turn on because 'cause it's got this thermostat built in. It knows if the humidity is too high, so it's got a humidistat built in, and, correct me if I'm wrong, it's got a lifetime warranty.
Yeah, it does. As far as the thermostat and humidistat, one of the things I love about this product, is that it has the it hangs off a 4 foot long tail. So
Mm,
the thermostat and the humidistat is it more centralized in your attic, reading more true air. Most attic ventilation, electrical or solar, the thermostat is built into the body of the unit. So at the hottest part of the where the fan is where all the heat is. So it's not actually turning on and off when you would want it to. It's just running maybe full bore all day long. You want to get a true read of your attic. So why I love the product that we use from the Attic Depot up in Conroe here, and it's just a phenomenal product.
yep. So that's the way ventilation should work, you explain that, and so the difference between that and insulation is pretty much everything. They're not at all the same, they do 2
Right.
different jobs.
2 different jobs, and yet working if you want them to work best together, for sure. But if you don't have ventilation, let's just go to standard insulation. We've mentioned before, a heat sponge. The hot air is rising in the house, it's gathering in your attic, and it is sitting on that insulation. So we know hot air rises, but it eventually slows down on its escape. So it's resting on it, and it's now radiating through that insulation pile. And you want enough insulation in your attic that the heat never touches your ceiling,
Mm.
because then it radiates into your home. So more insulation, more insulation, or remove the heat load. You don't need as much insulation, but that's what insulation does. It keeps out and keeps in. In the winter, the flip of it is you want to keep all the hot air that you're creating in the house in the house.
Yeah.
You don't want to pull the air out of the attic, for example. So something like a, a turbine, another popular, it draws, if that wind's moving that blade, it's drawing air out of your attic. And so it's actually working against you in the wintertime because you're removing that heat dam that has been created in the attic. So your hot air goes into the attic and leaves your living space. You want to keep that air in your living space in the winter. So both seasons, what's going on in that attic space matters. How that air is moving or not moving matters for your efficiency.
And speaking of a product in your attic that is very helpful, it doesn't require maintenance. The fan doesn't really require maintenance, but the insulation really doesn't. I would say over time, and it could be 15, 20 years plus, you may wanna consider replacing insulation or some of it because it got wet, because of pests, because of, shrinkage. It can compact a bit. And so but that's a long time, and even so, you guys can blow new insulation right over the old.
Correct. In fact, the brand we use of our insulation doesn't settle. So the older stuff, yeah, it settles. You may go up in your attic now and there's 2, 3 inches. If your house was 20 plus years old, what we use, the product we use will once you blow it on there, it's done. So the only thing you might need to do, again, like you said, water damage, that's a big thing. If you're moving the air in the attic, though, you're not getting moisture from just the humidity, which can ruin an attic. But we do have an enzyme treatment that sometimes you got to get up there and just spray the enzyme down. It cleans it up, sanitizes it, freshens it, makes it smell better. So it's a little bit of maintenance, but you're talking years before even that has to be done. And we can use that product before we put down the new products. A lot of people want to, hey, should you need to remove our installation because it's old? Just because it's old doesn't mean you have to remove it. If it's salvageable, let's salvage it, save you some money. But age is not what makes it inefficient. Settling older stuff, it does settle. Let's use the 3 inches that are left and add 10 to it and get you to 13 inches if we can. But age isn't necessarily mean you got to pull it out. What is the condition of it? Can we salvage it with the enzyme and continue to use it?
This is awesome stuff. If you want to get a hold of Adam and his team at the Wise Attic, all of his information is located in the show notes of this podcast. He also has a book which we haven't really talked about, and maybe he'll drop one off at your house if you ask. That just came out of the blue, but I know you wrote a book. We should talk about that sometime here on the show. But you do have that available as well if people want to look at your book.
I do. I have a book called The Wise Attic, and it has a great forward by somebody else in this podcast,
Mm.
Mr. Jim Clark himself.
Oh, well,
So
there you go. Yeah, yeah, and, I said this before, I love the attic space, I love what you do. It's kind of a nerdy type thing to say I love the attic space, but if you own a home, you have a responsibility as a homeowner to understand what you own, and Adam is an expert in attic efficiency, and that's what the book is all about. So, that is something definitely you should take a look at as well, when you have Adam come out to your home to inspect your attic to tell you what's going on. Adam, as always, thank you so much for joining me today on the program.
my pleasure. Thanks.